Hey, Rick, we had Matthew Kresse on today, a phenomenal agent. He's been in the business for a long time. What was your key takeaways?
For me, I think his knowledge, like all these gurus, just the knowledge they have of the industry, and I think more than that, he just has this really good demeanor that I think would be easy to work with, and the fact that he got his driver's license at 16 and he started going to open houses. He is doing exactly what he should be doing. He loves homes.
Yep. And then that really awesome thing, and we had a couple of them on, he's also works with caring transition. So if you have an elderly customer or whatnot and they need to downsize, this is a perfect one for you to listen to.
Welcome to Indy's Real Estate Gurus, your ultimate guide to the dynamic world of real estate in Indiana. And I'm Rick Ripma, your hardworking mortgage guy, and I've been in real estate and mortgages for over 24 years.
And I'm Ian Arnold, a loan officer on Rick's hardworking mortgage team, and we are both with Advisors Mortgage Group. Together, we'll empower you with expert advice, market trends, and successful stories from guru realtors and local experts.
Whether you're a homeowner, investor, or pro, join us as we navigate the thriving Indy real estate market.
Now get ready to unlock the doors of success, one episode at a time.
Well, today we are really excited. Ian, I'm excited. You excited?
Sometimes.
We have Matt Kresse. Matthew Kresse or Matt Kresse.
Wow.
Did I get it right?
I think you got it right.
You got it right.
Hot dog. That's a first, I think.
30 minutes of practice before the show.
Yeah, it doesn't take much, does it? And you're all the way from Greenwood.
Yeah, I'm in Greenwood.
And you drove all the way up here to Carmel, Indiana.
Hey, well, we
Thank you.
make the trip all the time. So I like making that trip.
Did you survive the roundabouts?
Yes, I love them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bring them on, Greenwood.
I
They're
love
coming.
them.
They're definitely coming.
It's unbelievable. I live on Michigan Road, off of Michigan Road. Basically, I'm in Carmel, but I have a Zionsville address. And to get to work, it takes no time at all because there's no stops. You just keep going.
Yeah, I love it.
It's a beautiful thing.
I think Greenwood's starting to become comfortable with them. We get a new one every couple of months, I think it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah, we still do too, it seems like. There are some when they're so close, it's like a roller coaster, It's like, woo, this is a little much.
Yeah,
but I still love them. So you're with Red Oak Real Estate Group.
Correct.
And you are a guru. You have, your numbers are phenomenal. You've done a great job.
Thank you.
You've been in the business a while.
Yep.
And so we like to start, since we know you're a great real estate agent, but what did you do before real estate? Where'd you grow up? What was your life like?
Sure. Oh man, that's a long one. I grew up in Naperville, Illinois, and was there from age 5 to 19.
Wow.
And then went off to school and then back, the boomerang thing.
Where'd you go to school?
I started at Western Michigan in Kalamazoo. I left when I was a sophomore and then started back up in 2005 at Wright State University in Dayton.
Okay.
So did some things in between, started my real estate career in between, and then decided I needed to finish school. So,
wow. So you started your real estate career back in early 2000s?
Yeah. So I started in 2003 when I was living in Chicago. There's a company there called the Apartment People.
Okay. Yeah.
And they set it up just like you sell real estate. There's buyer's agents or leasing agents. There's an MLS. Clients come in. We pick out what they need from the MLS based on the criteria, and then we take them out and we show the units. For me, that was affirmation that I was in the right spot and doing the right thing. Growing up in Naperville, once I got my driver's license, I was going to open houses on Sundays and
really
doing that kind of stuff all by myself. If I saw an open house sign on a Sunday and I was driving around, I would stop in and just walk around and act as if.
Yeah.
And so that's, it began that far back. And then in 2003, when I got that job, it was the beginning. And then when I moved to Dayton and went to school at Wright State, I quickly got my broker's license and found a mentor and did that for a while. That was for 6 or 7 years. And then I made the move over here in 2011.
What brought you here?
I was looking for a new market. I was looking to do something different. I had looked at the time, Charlotte was going really strong. Nashville had just had the flood, so I knew,
yeah.
and it was downtown. So I knew that area was going to have a boom post disaster. And then Indianapolis had a network of people that I knew from Chicagoland, a lot of my friends that I went to school with. And it was close to Chicago, so whatever I need, my parents were still there, so I would go back. So I chose Indy.
Yeah.
And then bought a place on the north side. And within a year, I had met some guys that I work with and still work with today. So my business took off on the south side, so I made the move.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
My son lives in Chicago. And it's kind of funny because I understand why they have that apartment MLS and everything else. There are
So much.
unbelievable amount.
So much, yeah. And that Apartment People was the biggest operation. There were several of them in Chicago, but they were the biggest. And at that time, App Properties was just coming up out of Chicago. And so I was watching the business and just kind of curious and all these new players. And so I was like, all right, yeah, this is.
So how old were you when you got it, when you actually started into that rental property?
So that would have been 22 or 23.
Right. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Somewhere around that, maybe 24. So I'm 45 now. So 2003 is 21 years. So yeah, 24.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he may be the first person that we've had that when they were, as soon as they got their license, they were going into open houses.
Yeah.
Oh, this was
Whoa.
driver's license.
Driver's license. Yeah.
There's been kids that did it before with their parents, but
Yeah. No, it's really, I mean, it's interesting because it was your calling. I mean, you really are doing your calling.
Yeah, and for me it was always an interest in housing and design, architecture, that kind of stuff as a kid, and I think it came from growing up in Naperville, watching Naperville expand and grow like it did, because it blew up during the time that we were there, still, and did beyond my time there. But being in that kind of world and watching people take old post-war ranches down to the ground and build these big houses was always interesting on what was going on. And then, as I was in college, I always delivered pizzas. So I was always going up to houses, right?
Okay, yeah.
And I was always looking and just observing. And so for me, it was just always something that was interesting. And then felt like I was pretty good at sales because I was personable and understood people and stuff like that.
Well, you've done well, so you are.
Oh, well, thank you.
You are. So when you got into real estate, you'd moved from Dayton to here.
Yeah.
But you had a group of people, it sounds like you knew here, but it's still, real estate's not the easiest thing in the world to do. And 2005 was still pretty good, but it wasn't too far off from 2008 when everything kind of fell apart. But how did you get going and how did you sustain your business through that time frame, that 2008?
So from 2004-05, when I got my license and got out of that leasing area, what I did when I got to Ohio was I sought out the top agents. So I was in a small county called Miami County, Troy, Tip City, Piqua, these small towns, and they hadn't really heard of teams yet. They weren't really doing any of that. So I looked up the top agents and I approached them and asked them if they'd ever considered a team or bringing on a buyer's agent and what that meant. And then additionally, I would do gopher work for them. I would do their open houses. I would drop their signs. I would take their pictures. I would write their descriptions, do that kind of stuff so that I could get knowledgeable with it. And then since I was in school and just basically a buyer's agent during the 2008 time, I wasn't selling a ton. I was more observing, more just learning. So once I finished school and I made the move here, that was post '08. I moved here in 11. So I was, and the comeback was starting. So it was really just taking everything that I had learned in those first 5-6 years and then begin to apply it in my new market and get a real good start. What I did when I moved here was I looked for an opportunity to partner to do something with somebody that would almost guarantee me business, if you will. So when I met Jason and Dustin Royer of Red Oak, they had placed an ad and they were looking for an acquisition manager for their investment properties. And so basically I was going to go out and hunt all the properties that they could buy for their investments, and then I would have the opportunity to sell them when they were done. So for me, that was it was business, and I needed business. I was in a new market, but I had experience. So from there, I learned the investment game, or the investment business, and also because I was able to sell the properties after we were done, I was able to build a clientele. So then it just all kind of started to flow like it was supposed to. And so then I had investment work and I had retail business. And so that's kind of how, and post '08, you wanted to be, a lot of people were investing. That's when the properties were cheaper. They were coming, there was foreclosures, there were things going on where we could actively be good investors and buy good properties. So
yeah. Well, I remember back then though, even in 2011, I think you had a great niche because the market still wasn't totally back. It was still a tough market for most people.
Right.
And so I think it's, it seems like you really set it up smartly. You went to teams, you made a team. So I'd love to get your thoughts on how valuable it is to, especially when you're new, be on a team.
So I'm a mixed bag for that, honestly. I think it's good to have a mentor, without a doubt. Whether you do that through being on a team or you find somebody that you can work closely with and learn with and do, either be your own agent, but be in a group. I think that's important. Being on a team, I've never been on a team in the modern sense. So I don't really know what that specifically looks like. But the way that I did it and the importance of having a mentor and being willing to do the grind, right? Like I said, I did the go for work, and just so that I could place myself into the business and into all the little facets that go with it. And then have my ears and eyes open so that I could learn what these agents were doing with their clients, how they were selling, how they were presenting themselves, all that kind of stuff. So that is extremely important. And I don't think you can really do it without a good mentor or a good program for accountability, stuff like that.
Yeah. So let me ask you that when you're talking about mentors. So it sounds like you had a mentor most of your career.
Correct.
All right. So for somebody listening to this and doesn't have a mentor, let's go into that. What does the mentor do to help you and keep you in line?
For me, it was just allowing me to be around, right? To allowing me to be in their space and to, I basically injected myself. So anytime that I heard something that I was curious about or wanted to be part of it, I just said, hey, what's going on? Or what can I do to help? Or tell me about that. And so for me, that was important, and I gained a lot by doing that. But having somebody that's willing to allow you to be in their space and learn. There was an adage that, my mentor, that I had said to her, I was like, do you mind? I forget what it was, but it was like, I want to be you, and I want to be someday do more than you, right? I forget what the term is that, when you're looking for employment, you want to find a mentor or a boss who wants you to be as good as them or better. And, if you find somebody like that who's got that kind of willingness, that's invaluable.
It's also very difficult to find somebody like you who is willing to do everything that it requires, do the grunt work,
right,
and show up. You need a great mentor, but you also need a great mentoree, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. People who will listen and work with you and actually listen to what that mentor says and wants you to do. So part of what you're saying, I'm assuming, but I want to ask, how important is it as a new agent that you show up to the office and are around people doing business?
It's super important every day. There's the only way, in my opinion, that you can learn is by being there, and being around the people and fully getting into the industry. So, it's time, right? So you want to go to the meetings, you want to go to the MyBoard meetings, you want to go to all those different things and be present. Learn everybody, make those relationships. The relationships often begin, in my opinion, more within our industry than it does with the clientele. The clients will come because of all that knowledge and all that information that you're pulling by being present, both at the office and just in the industry itself.
All right. So if somebody's listening to this right now and they're like, look, this guy is phenomenal. I want to work with him, whether buy, sell, whatever, invest, whatever they want to do with you. So how can they get a hold of you?
It's Red Oak Real Estate Group, and my phone number is 317-318-3420. And my email address is Matthew, Matthew, sold, SOLD, @gmail.com.
And the number again is what?
317-318-3420.
All right. I always like to repeat it twice.
Thank you.
Oh, darn.
I think it helps. And to get a hold of Ian or I, go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. Or you can give us a call at 317-672-1938. It's 317-672-1938.
All right. So we're going to take a small break from the real estate. Let's jump into getting to know you more.
All right.
So if I take away your phone, you cannot work for 24 hours. Somebody else will take care of your customers. What are you doing for fun?
We're either hiking or going to the beach, for sure. So we're getting ready to head out on Friday for spring break. And so my wife and I are going to Sedona for 8 days. And we're going to do the Grand Canyon and that kind of stuff. But mostly we want to do the hikes that are in and around Sedona and Flagstaff. Before my wife and I get there, we're taking our kids to Hocking Hills in Ohio. We're going to hike around there. And then after that, when we get back from later in the summer, we'll do a beach trip.
So Sedona, have you been there before?
I haven't, but I'm super excited.
It's stunningly beautiful.
I know, I can't wait.
The Grand Canyon is awesome, but I like Sedona better.
We're doing one day.
Yeah.
We're going to fly into Phoenix, go straight to the Grand Canyon. We're going to stay at the South Rim, do one day, do one sunset, one sunrise, and then head out.
Okay.
Then we'll head over to the Slot Canyons for one day, and then we'll be in Sedona for 8.
Can you do me one favor?
Yeah.
Don't be like all these little teenagers holding their phone, watching the phone, walking off the side of the canyon. Don't do that.
It won't be me. I'm the dorky guy walking around with 2 walking sticks, and I use it for leverage. I use it to walk. I use it to keep myself at bay. All those different things. And but yeah, no, I will be. We don't selfie much, I don't think.
It's just I see all those. You watch it on the news, and you're like, how can you really do that? Do you not know where you are?
No, you don't.
Yeah, I guess
no, they are more. There's so many that seemingly are more into the phone and capturing the selfie in a place than really enjoying the space they're in.
Yeah, they're not living in the moment.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. It's too bad.
Yeah, it really is. And
especially when they fall off the side.
well, it's not too bad.
It's really bad.
So a little birdie told me you got another little fun little hobby-ish that you like to do, you and your wife.
Uh-oh.
Something about concerts?
Oh, yeah. So my wife and I would say in a given year, we're probably trying to hit up 20 shows, if not more, a year. Sometimes less, just kind of depends on how busy we are. But it's a good way for us to force date nights. You buy tickets in advance, and then you've got it on your calendar, and then you're doing it. And so it's just something we enjoy doing and always have, and I don't know that I'll ever stop. So.
Where's your favorite place to go to see a concert?
Oh, boy, that's a hard I'd say my favorite space now of late is the Salt Shed in Chicago. It's the old Morton Salt Factory off 94 that's been turned into a venue. And they opened, I think, 2 years ago. If not locally, we'd go to Bloomington and go to the Bluebird.
Okay. Now, have you been to? I've not been there, but I think it's called Red Rock.
Yeah,
in Colorado.
Had my first experience last year. I can't believe it took me 30 years to get there, but we just went and saw Tyler Childers at the Red Rocks. When was it? In October, I think.
How is the facility?
It's pretty cool. It's pretty amazing, and it's definitely worth the trip. It's worth making a show there, especially if you're into music and in venues, and definitely got to go back.
My son's been there, and that's why I know about it, because he loves it. He couldn't stop talking about how great it was.
Yeah, there's a few things on my bucket list that I can't believe I've been into music and going to concerts and stuff like that for as long as I have, that I haven't made the trip to, like the Gorge. I haven't been down to Jazz Fest in New Orleans yet. So there's some things that are on the bucket list.
Yeah.
Austin, we need to get to Austin, stuff like that.
Yeah, Austin's huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I mean, I don't even know if I can be a music guy without saying that I've been to all of these places.
I don't think
right?
you can.
I don't think I can either. I've got to make it happen. Gotta authenticate myself here.
So going back to real estate, what would you say your superpowers are?
For me, my biggest thing is the customer service. I really enjoy being in it. I really enjoy working with the client from start to finish, the problem solving, having solutions, and using the experience to come up with the solutions. That's probably my superpower, and where I don't know that I'll ever be able to let go. I've got to be part of it. I've got to be part of the transaction. I've got to be part of the customer experience. So
yeah. But you got, if you're doing what you enjoy,
yeah,
really, that's what matters, right?
Yeah. I mean, I got to go in the house. I got to go to the inspection. I gotta be part of all of that stuff. And, that's what I enjoy.
Well, you started doing it when you going to open houses when you were 16. So it doesn't surprise me.
Right.
You still need to get that.
Yeah. And then
fix.
Exactly. And then as that evolved, doing the investment stuff, when you buy properties like from the sheriff and stuff like that, you got to buy them oftentimes sight unseen. Or if we do get an opportunity to look, then you have to be the inspector. So you have to be able to recognize what you're looking at and what potential shortfalls there might be or issues with the property, so that you can be prepared for them as best as you can. So that's why I also like the inspection part of it. I want to know what's going on. I'm a major dork. I come with flashlight, tape measure. I've got meters for, moisture and all that kind of stuff.
Really?
Wow.
I
just major dork, and I like to be part of it. So
do you do mostly investment properties, or do you what is your business? How does that look?
I would say 50-50 between retail customers that are buying and selling. And then the other 50% would be a book of investors that are looking for property. Either I don't do a ton myself. That's not to say I haven't and that I won't continue. But most of my clients are investors who are looking to add to their portfolio or looking to flip properties, and they rely on me to determine the viable properties for them.
Okay.
Most of them don't go see the property or anything like that. They just want to go with the information that I can provide, both from a comparable standpoint and a condition standpoint, so that they can make their offers.
No, I do want to make a point about the last thing you said. When you walk to a house, you're ready to crawl under the crawl space. You're doing all this.
Yeah.
My wife and I, when we first started looking for homes, again, first time home buyers at that time, and we walk and we're looking at a house, and there's like 3 other couples there, and one dad is like underneath, and I'm like, I wasn't prepared for all this. So, but now that I've been in the business, I will be prepared next time. It's just one of those things. You don't know what you don't know until.
Sure. It's interesting when you have a client that wants to get real dirty during a showing, with the property. I'm like, you gotta hold them off. I'm like, this isn't your place. We're looking around. If you like it, we'll have an inspection for this. But there's nothing wrong with having a flashlight and taking a peek in the crawl space or into corners. Just can't get dirty. Can't dig in right away. But
yeah, I would be okay opening the crawl space and looking in it. Mm-hmm. I'm not okay with crawling in it.
I think the worst that I had an inspector that could not get into a crawl space on a transaction that I had in Danville a few years back. The house was built on grade, so it just had these small pillars that were holding it up, and there were channels dug in the dirt to get around underneath. So the house is 150 plus years old.
Wow, okay.
And they couldn't get down there, but my client really wanted to know more about what was underneath because of the age. So I went for it. Took the flashlight and listened to the inspector tell me what to look for while I was down there and take some photos and bring it back. And that was fun.
It doesn't sound like it.
No, I thought it was fun. Nobody else was, the client was like, no, I'm not getting in there. And the inspector was like, no, I'm not getting in there, or couldn't get in there. And I just thought it would be an adventure.
Well, when you do that, have you ever run into something you wish you hadn't run into in the crawl?
No.
No?
Mm-mm.
No raccoons or anything?
Just say not yet.
Not yet. Yeah, not yet. And if I ran into a raccoon or something, and those things, they don't scare me. I think I'd be like a guy going, "Hey, how you doing?" and talking to it.
They don't scare me unless they attack.
Yeah, then I could have a new phobia. Right?
Yeah. Now a snake, I can't handle snakes. So if I saw a snake, I'd probably break through the floor. I'd have to get out of there.
I think it'd be a certain size, or if it were a hairy spider or something like that, that would drive me crazy.
Yeah, but I also think it's the area we live in. So I grew up in the South. Rattlesnakes, water moccasins, all that. There's a difference going underneath the house when those could be there.
Oh, yeah.
You don't really get those here.
No.
So
You get water moccasins.
not too often.
And you can get rattlesnakes here, too.
Yeah, but not as much.
Enough. You only need one. You only need one.
Get away from me.
That's all you need. I don't like snakes. I can handle a garter snake. My wife, on the other hand, and my sons, they love them, so they think it's hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Pick them up and torture people.
Yeah. We went to the zoo one time, some zoo, I don't remember where it was, and she had to go pet the python. It's like, I'm not going anywhere near it. I don't trust that.
I don't. Yeah, I can look at it and not be scared of it, but I might not want to get intimate with it. Yeah, I don't need to.
Stay away.
I don't need to pet it. Or
That's all I say. Stay away. That's it.
All right. So if somebody is listening to this and they have some snakes they want you to pet and all that and want you to crawl under in their crawl space, what's the best way they can reach you?
You can reach me at 317-318-3420 and MatthewSold@gmail.com. It's MatthewSold@gmail.com.
All right. And it's 317-
318-3420.
See, I keep thinking I'm going to remember, but I don't. So I think I'd have to write it down.
It's a pretty easy phone number.
It is a pretty easy phone number. My memory's not as good as it used to be, I am finding. It's the older I get, the worse it seems to. I remember all kinds of stuff way back when, and the newer stuff just takes a little harder. It's a little harder to get it to stick.
For me, it's adjusting between what I actually know and what I think I know.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, and the older you get, the more you realize you don't know as much as you thought you did.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And to get a hold of Ian or I, go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com, or give us a call at 317-672-1938. It's 317-672-1938. I forget that most of the time, so I did good so far.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
Thank
and
you.
you said his name correct, and goodness.
I normally get my name right.
I said his name.
Oh, I thought you meant my name.
Kresse.
All right. So we'll get into the question of the week. And I'm kind of curious about this one, being a Midwest guy. So what was your first car?
My first car? I don't know if I can admit that. My first car was a Hyundai Scoop, and it was teal. but it was a stick shift, and I had to have a stick shift, and I had to have a car on my birthday, and my dad had offered to buy me a car, and so I was making something happen, and so I chose a car that was within budget and was a stick shift, and it was ugly, and I didn't have it for long. I was able to trade it in about 6 months later. I think it was about 6 months later, and I got a Mazda 323.
Okay.
Which was a much cooler car. It was the Rally Edition.
Oh, okay.
So it was a lot of fun to tool around in that and deliver pizzas and stuff like that. Because I started doing that in high school, but I've had better cars since.
So
go ahead.
But why? So I understand budget, all that, but why did it have to be a stick?
I just thought that you got more performance out of it. I mean, this was the 90s, mid-90s, and I thought that, I can make the car perform the way that I would more want it to perform with a stick shift. Than
You're a driver.
Yeah, I was a driver.
A driver likes a stick shift.
Yep, exactly. And I wanted to be able to handle it the way I could. And, I mean, it goes back to, like, the open houses. It was bad. I was looking at cars by myself before I turned 16, and I went into a car dealership that was local, and I promised the dealer or the salesman that my dad would buy me a car from him if he taught me how to drive stick shift. Don't know if it was a lie. It didn't end up being a lie because my dad made me honor it, right? So that's why we got the car there, and why the salesman taught me to drive it in the parking lot at age 15.
Yeah, but first of all, I think I was the same way when I was young. See, I didn't even realize it, but as soon as you said that, I mean, I started shopping for cars when I was probably 7 years old. I loved cars and still do love cars. Yeah. And so and stick shift when you're 16 years old, 15, 16 years old, that's what you want to drive.
Yeah.
At least back then we did. Maybe not today, but back then.
I wish it could have been a cooler car.
Yeah. I don't even know. I can't even draw up in my head what
a Hyundai Scoop
Scoop is. I know every car that's ever been built pretty much. I can't get that in my head. What did it?
I think it was competing with like the Ford Probe. It was like the two-door coupe stuff.
The Ford Probe.
Yeah, it was like that. It was
Okay.
small. It was 2 doors. It didn't have a hatchback, but it had that slope down the back like a hatchback. And Hyundai was still trying to make it. So the cars
They've come a long way, haven't they?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had Hyundais from probably 16 to my early 20s. They were just inexpensive to buy. And
Yeah.
so I had them.
That was just the thing with Mazdas and Hyundais is they were, and when Kia came around, was, look, we're going to build a car if it's going to be cheap. And that's why they got the bad rep for a while. And then they came out with that new body Sonata. And probably about in 2010, 2009.
Yep.
And when they did that, they were like, all right, now we're going to do more for the car. And that's when they really started taking off.
Yeah, I agree. It was the Sonata, because I had a couple Sonatas. One that I put into a telephone pole in a snowstorm in Michigan. I was still in Illinois. But then got another Sonata. And then when I was in my mid-20s and I was selling real estate, my first new car was a Kia. Yeah, what were those called? The Optimas or something like that. But I think that was the first car for Kia and for that network car that really launched them. It was it had a sporty body. They were quick, and I think that's where they took off. Yeah. But that was a fun car to have.
Yeah, and then I speak all that, and then the last couple of years has been a big thing with the theft of the cars because you found a way to get in without the key and start the car.
Oh, yeah.
Which is crazy.
I don't know anymore.
When they first came out, though, what they did was they mimicked other cars.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think when they, that helped them get established. But then when they stopped doing that and they started building cars that they designed, I think that helped them a lot. But I think they probably needed to do what they did. I don't know. It worked, so who knows?
Yeah, it seemed to work all the way through their lines. Hyundai did it, then Kia did it, then Genesis did it. They seemed to have like a little bit of a copycat type of deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. That's totally changed. I've been driving Suburbans now for a while. with all these kids.
What a great vehicle.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. That's a great vehicle.
Hey, it's great on gas mileage too.
I just don't think about it. I've just reserved myself to not thinking about it anymore.
Especially how much you probably drive. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's yeah.
There's more. First of all, there's more than just
20,000 a
gas
year.
mileage, right? How many?
Not for a
miles year?
realtor.
How many miles a year?
20,000 or more for sure. Yeah.
And so instead of a car that gets a little bit better gas mileage, you might spend a few $100, maybe $1,000 more a year.
Right.
But you have a vehicle you can enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the best of both worlds. I'm getting the family mover, and I'm also getting basically a pickup truck.
Yeah.
Because when the seats are down, it's like a pickup truck, so I can move and haul and do all that kind of stuff. And I don't mind moving stuff around. So
Yeah.
I'm also weird that way. I don't mind moving.
Besides that, it wasn't that long ago when, 10 miles a gallon was normal for everything. So even today, what do you get in that car? It's probably phenomenal for the size of vehicle it is.
I don't know.
Don't know. Don't
I
care.
honestly,
do you?
I don't. Yeah, I honestly don't pay
Hey,
attention.
out of
to it.
sight, out of mind.
That's exactly the way I feel about it.
Oh, it's low.
It
Pull
does
it.
what I need it to do. So let's go.
My
Yeah.
wife has an Avalanche. And we get on the road, we get 20 something miles, like 22, 23 miles a gallon. In the city, we get like 16. Compared to what a truck used to get,
Yeah. Very true.
that's pretty good.
Yeah. Very true.
I'll take my wife's we got a hybrid Highlander, and it gets 28 in city, 28 on the highway.
Yeah, but that's all that's,
Hey,
I'm
that's
not
awesome.
saying that's a bad thing. I like those cars, but I would not buy a car just for gas mileage because I like cars too much.
Well, you don't buy a Toyota just for gas mileage. That's reliability
Yeah, see.
right there.
See, that's all. Yeah,
If Toyota would make something the size of a Suburban, I'd be all over it for sure.
Yeah,
They
Sequoia's
just
the
don't.
highest they went.
And they're still not.
They're
enough
not big
room.
enough.
It's all leg room. There's
Yep.
no storage room.
yeah. I don't disagree with you. I think Toyota's, if not the best car, they're definitely one of the very best. I agree 100%, and I like most of what they do. But when I went to buy a car,
The
I went
value.
to buy a used
Yep,
car.
you're paying.
It's ridiculous. The only way I'd buy a Toyota personally is buy a new one because I can sell the new one for what I paid for it 4 years later.
Yep.
Pretty
But-
close.
which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But Suburbans do the same thing.
They do.
People
They
love
do.
them. The Avalanche has done the same. They hold their value very well because people love those cars.
Yeah, the big body GM cars, the Toyotas, and Jeeps. Well,
Yeah.
maybe up until last year or the year before,
Yeah.
they were always the highest residual.
And I don't know how has your Suburban been. Our Avalanche has been we have had no problems with it. It's
You
kind
better
of like a
knock on
Toyota.
wood. Knock on wood.
I don't have to. It's kind of like a Toyota. What have you had any issues?
Other than minor stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
normal
they've got,
little stuff.
Yeah, sometimes they've got transmission stuff, but they fix it.
Yeah,
It's not
we
expensive.
hadn't even had that. We had nothing.
No.
This is the second one we've had.
Yeah, I'm on my fourth. We transitioned into the big body GMs 4 or 5 years ago, and I switch them every 12 to 18 months because of the amount of mileage and the residual value. I can
Yeah.
put that many miles on them in a year and a half, and sell it for basically taxes,
Yeah,
and go do it again.
yeah, that's
Trick
pretty
is
good.
not buying new though.
Yes.
Can't buy new.
Yeah. So we probably I could talk about cars all day.
Me
So
too,
we
yeah.
probably should get back to real estate. So and your business. So what are you really excited about in your business as you look out to the future?
So I am expanding operations. I've acquired Caring Transitions, Indy South, and that is, for me, it's a separate business, but it's also a business that I want to marry with real estate, and it's the idea of helping senior citizens and the baby boomers move through the processes as they age, and the process of everything that goes with the housing, right? So we do senior relocation, move management, we do estate sales, stuff like that. And I think for me, that is a way to move my real estate business into the future, both from a clientele and also provide an additional service offering for my clients and new clients. So this is only a few months old for me. And I'm really excited on where it's going to go.
I think it's one of the coolest things that people do. And like Ian and I both, Ian's bought things off the auction. I think another thing, even if somebody listening isn't even, they have nobody that they need to, get a house, use your services. They should get on, contact you, get on your list and see all these auctions that come up.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
They can get a good deal, and it really helps those people out.
Yeah, and it keeps things out of the landfill and the upcycle, and that's the thing is it's a whole host of new services that aren't just real estate focused. So I can help everybody, and we can leave the real estate part out of it and work the services, do the auctions, do the move management, help them move on to the next step and downsize. So it's really cool. And then the auctions are just. We've been participating in it a lot for years now, and we do just the idea of being able to upcycle stuff and make those the things that we buy and put in our home instead of new furniture and new belongings.
Yeah, I think it's awesome just because if you've ever had to go through that process of like we had to do it with my grandparents, and people at that age, and I don't mean anything bad about this, but they were raised during a different time, especially my grandparents.
Right.
They were raised, they went through the Great Depression. They went through World War II. They held on to everything.
They held everything.
So guess what? Their house is packed. Whether it looks that way or not, it's packed to stuff. And you guys come in and you're like, all right, let's put these all on for auction. You may not get exactly what you value them as, but let's help clean out this house because you're going from a 3-bedroom, whatever, square footage to maybe indoor or assisted living where you're on a ranch and it's much smaller.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That generation, they held on to those memories and they kept them, and they talk about them through their whole life, and that's why they held those things, and those were the way that they were able to move through and come out of, either they were children of the Great Depression or they were children of children. And so that kind of passed. We're a little different now, but being able to help them work through that process, being able to help them downsize, help them understand that, the memories are within, doesn't have to be the possessions, and that, they're going to go to another good home. All that stuff it's fun and it's amazing and it's enjoyable and it's rewarding. So,
yeah. I think, when you and I talked about this, I think one of the things that I found interesting, I think we should talk about is that these are two separate businesses.
Correct.
Your real estate and Caring Transitions. Now you can do both for somebody,
right?
But an agent out there who has somebody who needs the Caring Transition services doesn't need to worry about you as a real estate agent, because if they're using those services, that's the Caring Transition.
Yes, they are 100%. It is two separate companies. It is nice that I can use them in conjunction when I have to, but from a service offering, from problem solving, and from being there for other agents and other referrals or wherever, whomever needs help, I will certainly hang up my real estate hat and work Caring Transitions, and Caring Transitions will be there to help them solve that problem individually.
Yeah. But along with that, you're a real estate agent, which means you can speak the language to the real estate agent so that they understand what's going on, and you understand what they do, and you can help them understand what you're doing.
100%. I will, with the lingo and with knowing where they're going and what their objectives are, I can help meet those objectives and understand why they're meeting them, and they need done what they need done. Yeah. And also be an advisor.
All right, so I like hearing stories, and you've only been in the business for a short little time, so I know you don't have very many stories at all.
Oh, boy.
But I want to hear a good story. It can be good. It can be, we've all had horror stories, but I want to hear a good story.
I don't honestly know.
Give him some direction here.
Oh.
Give him some direction.
All right, give me one of your best transactions that you had with a customer.
Or worst.
Or worse.
No, don't mention names.
I don't think I've ever really. I mean, there are moments in a transaction where, they're difficult or there's, problem solving that has to occur. But I don't think, honestly, that I've ever had a bad transaction. Because you just work through it.
Right.
And, you get to the finish line, whether it's a good result or a bad result. But, 999 out of 1,000 of them are, for me, have been a good result. So that's a difficult question.
All right, here, let me rephrase this one. All right, so what does home ownership mean for somebody, whether it's financially or mentally?
I think home ownership for most is a place to call their own. It's a place where they can grow, where they can move through their life. It's a stepping stone, whether it's in goals, whether it's in building a family. And so it's an important thing. And for me, home ownership is also the same thing. It's home, right? That's where we go. That's where we go every night. And we retire, we relax. And I think everybody who's looking for a home wants that peace of mind, that place that's theirs and that they can call theirs and know that they've done it and they've accomplished it. And so being a facilitator in that process is quite rewarding and something I'll always want to do.
So what are some of the misconceptions a home buyer or seller has of what you actually do as a real estate agent?
Ask the question again. What
misconceptions do buyers or sellers have of what a real estate agent actually does?
I think that I don't know if it's a misconception, rather than they don't realize how involved we are in the process and how much we become a counselor, an advisor. The more experience we get, the better at that we get, in our career, both being problem solver, a counselor, recognizing their wants and needs and reminding them of those things, working through the process, both good and bad, to get to the finish line. So I don't think sometimes they realize how involved we are. I think maybe sometimes they feel like we're going to hire this guy who's going to show us a house and we're going to close and that's going to be it. But there's a lot that goes into it. It's a in that month that it takes, if there's financing, there's a lot. And there's a lot that they have to do with the lender and the inspector. And so sometimes we got to talk them off the cliff. Sometimes we got to bring them back to the reality. Sometimes it's smooth sailing. Sometimes we're just celebrating the joy of the moment, all the way through the process. So, I just don't think they always realize how involved we are in the process and we can be in the process.
I think I don't like to call people liars, but I saw HGTV. It seems pretty darn easy.
It's all smoke and mirrors. For sure.
My daughter was watching one. It was on Samsung TV or whatnot. They were doing but it was like virgin house buyers or something like that. And this lady made it seem like it was eating dinner at night. I mean, that easy. And I'm just like, it's not that like that. I don't know what you're trying to portray here, but it's a lot harder than what you're making it sound.
It's a lot harder. And, in the search, in the hunt for a house, that's oftentimes the most difficult, because whether or not there's competition for the house or low inventory, or if there's a lot of inventory, we got to sort through it. We've got to figure out, and you've got to help them understand and see what it is that they're looking at and help them get to understanding, will this house work for their goals for the future, for what it is that they're trying to accomplish, for whether it's the growth of their family or just. It's interesting when you get the initial criteria and then you get to meet them and then you talk and you get to know them, and you then are going to look at houses and you're like, this is perfect, it meets all your criteria, but then you learn something else that may make it not meet it, or they're not seeing something that makes it meet their criteria where it is perfect, and you get to point it out and say, you need to pay attention here to what's going on and what this house or property is. And so all that is a lot of fun, and it's important.
Yep. And I think it also is important that a real estate agent, in my opinion, let's take a buyer side. If you have a really good buyer's agent working with you, you will save money by working with that agent, even with the changes that might be coming down the pike, right?
Right.
Okay. I think it's important people understand the value of the agent on the buyer side, and they on both sides, but the buyer side seems to be the one that's getting the most changes right now. And it's if you overbid on a house. I mean, there's just so many things. You have the inspection. How do you read the inspection? There's just so many things. You understand it much better than I do. I just think people need to know there's a lot of value in having an agent who's helping you buy a home, and a good agent will protect you, and they'll really, really take care of you, and you will save money by working with them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, anytime a buyer has a buyer's agent or an agent working for them, that is the difference. We're getting to know your goals, and we're going through properties with you, and we're understanding what your wants and needs are. And so that creates its protection, because we've become a part of your process, and a good one wants to be part of it. You know, it's not just a transaction.
Right.
It's a relationship. And that relationship will build that kind of protective nature. And then the experience of a good agent is the inspections and being able to read between the lines, if you will, understanding what is checklist that you can deal with later if you choose, and what's something we really have to pay attention to. Same with lending, all that stuff, and having good referrals and people that we know will protect you in all the parts of the process. Does that answer the question?
Yes, it does, especially somebody who will crawl in your crawl space.
Yep. All right. So I want you to build relationships with people, because I hear you like people. Yes. So what's the best way someone get in touch with you?
You can reach me at 317-318-3420. That's 317-318-3420, or Matthew Sold, MatthewSold @gmail.com.
Perfect. Yeah, when I originally wrote sold, I spelled it SLOD. That wasn't right, so I fixed it.
A lot of people, so when I market the email address or my website, I have to capitalize the M for Matthew, the S for sold. Otherwise, it's Matthew's Old.
Yeah.
And I'm getting there, but I've had that email address since I was 23.
Well, I guess you could read it either way. Matthew Sold or Matthew is old.
Oh, I know. It's like,
Matthew's old. I didn't think of that. And to get a hold of Ian or I, go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. Or give us a call at 317-672-1938. It's 317-672-1938. And please follow us for more Indy's Real Estate Gurus.
A reminder, if you have any friends, family, or coworkers looking to buy, sell, or refinance, let us know. We'll be more than happy to help you. Matthew, thank you for joining us on our show. It's been a pleasure having you on.
I appreciate it.
Branch NMLS number 33041. Ripma's NMLS number 664589. Ian Arnold's NMLS number is 1995469. Equal housing opportunity. Some restrictions apply.